with your approval and recommendations.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next, we have Tony Majors. Is Tony here? For my Stonewood people, do you see Tony? Okay, all right, then we'll move on. It's not you.
He's special.
But he is special, and we're glad to see you back in the chamber tonight. Amy?
Yes, I'd like to introduce Chamomi, students. She's staying in our home. There are 6 chaperones with them. They spend the next 2 weeks visiting and learning the culture, and their students will go to school with our students, and next summer we switch. Our students will go to Sama, Japan, and the sister city and she is a school teacher.
Okay. With that, we'll get back into the meeting, and we'll look to the approval of the minutes of the July 2nd, 2024 meeting. Counselor, are the meeting minutes in order?
In order as to form, Chairman.
Are there any questions from the commission concerning the minutes? Any further discussion? All those in favor, we are...
Yes, members of the Planning Commission, this is just a brief explanation on this before we actually talk about what we need to talk about. With the changes in the annexation law that went into effect July 1st, the Planning Commission hold a public hearing on any plan of services, and that public hearing has to take place at least, and a new requirement that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing as well. This first item is something we didn't realize or didn't catch when we read the law originally. And so this is actually for the annexation that you voted on last month on the plan of services, and make another recommendation to council after you hold. And again, just as a reminder, this plan of services, it's something that's required on any annexation that the town undertakes. We do have to put in writing the services that we would be providing upon annexation. As a reminder, for the Lee Road annexation request, it would be.
Okay, so with a public hearing then, I'll go to the public to see if there's anyone here to speak for or against the plan. I don't for 6304 Lee Road.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve the plan of services for 6304 Lee Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Plan of services for 140 Queen Cliff Court. And I'll close the public hearing and ask the commission for a motion.
Chairman, I'm going to abstain from the Queen Cliff Plan of Services and the following annexation.
Okay. All right, so noted.
Yes.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a question. How does this affect or not affect the upcoming zoning item? Okay.
Most likely, assuming council concurs with your recommendation and doesn't pass the annexation on first reading, the plan of services would never be heard by the council.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We are now on to old business. Our first item is annexation, zoning, and plan of service request. This comes from Kyle Griffin,
140 Queen Cliff Court. There is a house on the property currently that does access that existing county road. Current zoning in the county is RM. They have requested a PRD for county. Land use plan would support medium density single family residential development in this area. There are no roads. There were some revisions to the plan, some changes to the plan a little bit from what we had seen last week. And that does increase the number of lots from 339 to 346. And basically what that entailed, there was in that south, they changed some of the road layout in that area to meet our subregs, one of our comments, comment number 11. And when they did, it is 1,000 gallons per minute at 20 PSI. That would be our standard comment there, which may increase based on the amenity buildings, things that are requested or shown on the plan. A traffic study, that would need to remain as a condition if you choose to recommend approval. Through all of the necessary review by FEMA to do if there are any modifications proposed to that. Other There was no sewer available to this area till that Stewart's Creek force main or truck line is completed. And that's just kind of, again, just an informational type comment. That it would cross some of that area, floodplain area, and it's shown as regarding the public street connection, basically needing more than one ingress and egress to the development from the east and west sides of the development prior to construction of the 100th dwelling. I know there's been some discussion with our fire department about it, those requirements or not, so we want to keep that comment just to, till he's able to review it and give us to go with a loop road where they had shown a cul-de-sac. Comments 12, 13, and 14 are from Consolidated Utility District. They have indicated they cannot meet fire flow in this area, but they are undergoing some, looking at what improvements would have to be made to their plan, to their system in order for fire flow to be and that would have to be done before they could get permits, building permits. As stated earlier, this is just for clarification for everybody. This is on our urban growth boundary, but and again, this would be provided by Consolidated Utility. That's all that I have this time.
Kevin, looking at this, we're right around 3 homes per acre.
Yes.
So consistent with our a medium density
That's correct.
town subdivision, correct?
Right.
I know there was a concern voiced about the buffer zone, and I'm looking at this. My understanding is they're going to maintain the 50-foot buffer zone with the natural trees.
That is my understanding as well. And they do show that buffer zone. There's not a dimension shown on that, but just scaling it off, it looks like it is approximately 50 feet, but still, but that would, certainly you could specify that or ask that it be specified shown on the plan as that, as part of a motion if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But they are showing a buffer zone. In that
Okay.
area, yeah.
And I'm not sure if I quite understand Ms. Dada's question, but it was concerning the plat. I'm going to try to answer it, and maybe you can help me here. If this is approved, any changes to this plat would have to come back through Planning Commission and Council. Is that?
Yes, that's correct. If this is approved, this is the zoning that is approved for this property. This number of lots, this is the layout. The only thing that wouldn't come back is if there was a minor change where maybe they moved one lot from one side of a road to another or something very minor like that. But if they changed road layouts, if they changed
Lot dimensions.
lot dimensions, the number of lots certainly, things like that, that would all have to come back through the same process. And if it is approved, their next step would be, to do this, go through the actual subdivision platting process, the actual engineering design, which would come back to you all, not council, but would certainly come back to you all for every phase of the development, preliminary plats, final plats, construction plans reviewed by staff, all of that, just like any subdivision would do.
When I look at this and compare it to our current PRD zoning requirements, this appears to exceed that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I was just looking, and it seems to mirror something, or it seems to mirror very closely what we just, may have been talking in planning and council joint workshops, where I'm seeing different lot widths, and it looks like the larger lot widths that abut Stonewood are in the 75-foot range.
That's correct.
Okay. Traffic, I know, has been expressed as a concern. With the connections through the adjoining subdivisions, would this not allow traffic to flow either to Almaville Road or Rocky Fork,
Yes.
Almaville?
Yes, and eventually to Independent Hill Road, once Linwood actually is constructed.
So this gives an option as far as traffic movement. It necessarily wouldn't necessarily flow all to Almaville Road.
It wouldn't have to flow all directly to Almaville, no, it could go 3 different eventually, depending on other developments actually occurring, but could eventually be three different directions
Okay.
as far as existing streets.
Okay, that's from my notes, and that's the questions I have. Are there any other questions here?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a request to have Mr. Griffin come up and kind of summarize what the material changes were based on the comments that were made by the public, I think would be very helpful.
Okay,
Based on this time.
I will allow that. Is, Mr. Griffin, if you'd come up and give us your name and address.
Good evening, everyone. Kyle Griffin, CSDG, 2305 Klein Avenue, Nashville, Tennessee. Just a brief summary of the things that we've changed since hearing the response from the public, from the neighbors. We've removed, and from the joint session special hearing about PRDs. We went through, we removed all the 45-foot lots, the minimum lot width is 50. We've committed to all 10-foot side setbacks throughout, all lot sizes throughout. We are still maintaining the 50-foot space between our community and Stonewood. We are participating in waterline system upgrades with CUD to bolster that system to meet the fire flow requirements. What else do we have here? Providing variation in lot sizes, we have bolstered our materials commitments to 30% brick and stone on the fronts of the homes. That was a 25% increase from what we had initially at the initial submittal. And this doesn't show the connection of the loop around the left side, but the latest plan that we did submit and provided to Mr. Rigsby does show that completion of the loop. That's where those additional 6 lots came from. I believe those are the highlights of the plan changes that we've made. I'm happy to answer any questions that you still have.
Can you talk a little bit about the amenity package that's included with this proposal?
Yeah, so right now we have a pool and cabana, a few pickleball courts, and a playground, in addition to a trail system that connects the backside of the community to the main amenity center. This gives multimodal transportation methods to residents of the community. We are studying it across to Linwood at this time. No connection to Stonewood to the south.
Okay. Matt, any other questions from you?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we let?
Could you, are you maintaining the 50-foot buffer 360 around the development? It appears that you are.
We're not against the Linwood development. It is the same developer there. We actually are on a portion of Linwood, but to the north, we are not. Across the Stonewood community, we are, and there's going to be a pond on the east side, on kind of the southeast corner. And then the rest of it, the lots do just back up to the property line, but there's a lot of tree mass between the property boundary and the existing homes on those 3 larger tracts.
Anything else for Mr. Griffin? Good, Charles? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've heard from staff, and we've heard from the representative of this development. Are there any other questions or comments that we need to take care of?
I just get a question. So where they're committing to the 50-foot buffer, is that a binding condition?
I think probably, if you're concerned about it, I think any motion, maybe if you add that as a condition of the approval to include, you know, some of those remaining staff comments like the traffic study and things like that, to show the 50-foot label, because I think it is shown there just by scaling it off, to show that a 50-foot buffer is required abutting the Stonewood development or something like that would be fine to add as a condition.
Okay. Anything else, Charles?
No, sir.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I entertain a motion.
Move to approve with staff comments to include the addition of a 50-foot buffer, specifically on the south side there.
That abuts the Stonewood
Yep.
community.
Abutting Stonewood.
Okay. I have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
This motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. We are now on to new business. Our first item under new business is a rezoning request from Janet Ibrahim Nassef, Rocky Fork Road, rezoning R3 with ESO to PRD with ESO.
Yes, this is a rezoning request on Rocky Fork Road. It's currently a vacant tract. It's about 2.1 acres. Currently zoned R3. Requested to be rezoned to a PRD. It does lie within our Union Springs overlay. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R3 and PUD, which is the addition to Villages of Valley Green PUD, which is to the south of the property. Land use plan does designate this property as a 24 gateway character area. Support a mixture of uses and services, kind of both local and regional in scale, such as hospitality, retail, restaurants, and multifamily uses. Major thoroughfare plan does designate Rocky Fork Road as a collector with a required minimum right-of-way of 30 feet from the center line, adequate right-of-way. They have shown that on these drawings. Would have to be, if this is approved, would move forward with any other plats or site plans that come through, would have to be shown as well. This requested PRD is for 5 duplexes, or so 10 total units, residential units on the property. Required minimum power flow is our standard 1,000 gallons per minute at 20 PSI. There is no sewer to this property currently. They are proposing to extend sewer to the south, from the south rather, through that adjoining development. And there is no easement there currently, so I have to obtain that easement and provide that before they can consider a site plan for this project if this zoning is approved. Would also include, they would have to move some utility poles and utility services, existing utility service locations there, that have to be looked at pretty closely. The landscaping, lighting, buffering, and screening plans are required to comply with section 5.059 of the zoning ordinance, which is our overlay. They will be reviewed in detail with the submittal of the site plan if this rezoning is approved. Number 10, regarding utility easements, being shown that has been taken care of and can be removed. Comment 11, we'd ask them to revise the architectural elevations regarding to be compliant with our overlay. The buildings were shown as 100% concrete siding. They have revised them to show a strip of brick just along the bottom of the 2 units that would basically face, the sides would face Rocky Fork Road. Otherwise, they're still all concrete siding. We would recommend additional brick on there and to provide us a little bit more of a break between all the units, all the elevations, to provide more of a kind of a breakup in the building. Our ordinance calls a base, a body, and a cap, so to speak. So to kind of break things up a little bit more than just on that one, the sides that face Rocky Fork Road. Number 12, our overlay also says to when you have when a major road such as Rocky Fork or Union Springs Road, those type of things within our overlay, that you would face that road and not the side face the road. They did add a side door to those 2 units, so that there is a pedestrian entrance facing those doors, facing that roadway. Our preference would be, to actually face the buildings towards Rocky Fork Road, which is what our overlay kind of anticipates. We do still have some of our, on comment number 13, there are some of the water mains and utility mains are shown with on public easements, but there is not all of them, so they need to show all the utility easements. Comment 14, they did add a sewer line kind of extending east and west, but they did not go to those property lines, so they need to extend a little further. And comment 15 was a comment from our Public Works Department regarding some of they were concerned about one of the drainage structures. Keep that as well. They may have addressed it, but that's something our Public Works Department needs to look at. So there's still several comments that we feel like, well, we would recommend at least that still need to be addressed. It is more if you wanted to look at rezoning this property.
Kevin, this isn't the one that came to us about a year or so ago, 2 years ago or so, is it?
No, it did come before you, closer to Old Nashville Highway.
There was a stream or something that was affecting that property. Is this property affected? So if I heard you right, we were moving paper and I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
Your recommendation at this point was favorable for this or non-favorable?
Architectural elevations, and then there's some other just kind of utility issues and things that are relatively.
Before we
easy.
rezone?
I think so.
I don't have a,
It's it's across the street and down toward Old Nashville Highway, and then a very similar project to this is in that same area.
they are in the interior of the subdivision across the street.
It's actually on, yeah, I know what you're talking about
Yeah.
now, yeah. There are some.
I mean, to me, that sounds like that's a pretty major issue that I'm seeing here. And then the other issue I'm seeing is the ESO not being met, particularly considering this is going to be considered one of our,
Especially, like I say, with mainly the architectural side of it. I think there was an effort made, but I just don't think it's,
there seem to be a lot of,
Has that been shared already with the applicant?
I honestly know it because I've been out of town, just got back in today. So I just saw the changes today, so.
Mitch, can you?
They did
He
receive.
received the comments?
They received our comments, but as far as what,
Is there an issue without an additional area for parking?
there are no, other than the 4 per unit, there's no guest parking shown. They're not required for this particular type of use.
Do we have garages in addition to that?
No, I don't believe so.
38, so we've got 38 there,
Yeah, so you-
plus the
and it-
garage.
You have room for 4 in the driveway plus the garage.
A lot in these developments like this is even though 4 cars are just, seems like some additional parking or something to possibly help alleviate that crowding on the street might be sufficient.
This is where a town alternative of people actually parking in that turnaround area. Because that would be out of the main road, you know, even though if it's striped, no parking, fire lane or something like that, so people park there.
Where's the mailbox kiosk? Am I missing it?
I don't know that we've got that. And one this small, we probably wouldn't require parking because it's relatively easy to walk.
And we didn't have any response, haven't had anything in reference to what we've talked about tonight.
Yeah, we did have, like I said, they did respond by adding that brick on that one side of the 2 end units. So they did respond. It wasn't the side of the respond, though. They did try to address the comments.
Okay. All right.
Kevin, what's the space just in the southeast corner here that's really nothing there?
I believe that's, if you look at, I think it's 310, that's their detention area.
Or the kiosk could fit somewhere down in there, guest parking and a kiosk. Does that affect the detention area?
But yeah, potentially, I think you might could fit a couple spaces at least, maybe on the west side of the road in that area. And you might maybe shift,
Kiosk there, and they're gonna have it.
Yeah.
So that southeast area isn't affected too much by it. I can see where you could potentially put 3 or 4 parking spaces along with a kiosk there
sure,
and offset some of that guest parking issue in case somebody's having a party or whatever, you know. But these units are duplexes and they have the 38 feet. So 4-car stacks plus garage, am I correct? Again, it might make sense to have a couple 3 parking places at that spot where
Right.
people can pull in, get out, check their mail. And that can lend to having a little bit of guest parking as well. We don't know how, I didn't look
no, the building footprint says 1,210
per
square feet.
side.
Or 12, yes, per side, that's the footprint. So.
And do we know if they're 2
They are
bedroom,
partial-
3
they are-
bedroom? We don't
they are-
know any of that yet.
They are partial second story, so, but that 1,210
Could be a 3 bedroom.
could be, but the 1,210 square feet would include the garage square footage as well. That's just the footprint, so.
Gotcha.
We don't know the total square
Well, if
footage.
it's a 2 bedroom, I'm thinking about parking. It's- You're not requiring as much people there. And I'm glad they've set it back 38 feet, and I'm glad they have garage space. That's a 6-car stack. If you,
Right.
you know, it's a lot for a duplex, but I do agree with her on the kiosk and maybe a few extra spots. If that's what you're gonna do, you might as well do it there.
Other questions or comments?
Could you refresh my memory on a deferral versus a denial?
They both kind of work the same way, don't they?
But aren't there financial ramifications?
If it's denied to reapply, deferral, it's automatically on your agenda next month, and there would not be a separate fee, but they would still have to address or make revisions to the plans either way.
Do you have a sense as to whether or not they're open to making these modifications? I guess there's been limited communication, it sounds like.
Yeah, there has been limited, again, in the last week or so at least, from our end. But I got the impression that they would be willing to make those changes. I think maybe, I probably need to, call, I think I would have to have that conversation with them to better explain what we're looking for.
Would a deferral, so the deferral's going to be 30 days or next meeting.
Right.
Is it your opinion that would allow enough time for communication
Sure.
and changes to be made?
I think so, yeah.
Along with the kiosk concept.
Right,
Yeah.
with the additional comments we're talking about parking, the
Yeah.
kiosk, providing us maybe with a little more information on
Anything
the,
else associated with the ESO that they're missing other than the architectural elevations?
well, kind of how we would look at it, kind of again, there's some buffering requirements, but lighting, landscaping, those kind of things. We would probably look at that more in detail with the site plan if it is rezoned. So there's still some things that yes, there are issues for that they'll have to look at it to be addressed.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? I will entertain a motion.
I move to defer until the next meeting.
I have a motion to defer until the next meeting from Charles. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Kevin, do you feel like we've given you enough direction as far as our concerns plus the concerns you have?
Sure.
Okay. All right, any other comments? All those in favor of deferring this until the next meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is deferred. Next, under new business, rezoning request from Spencer Sanders, Jeannie Lane, and Motlow College Boulevard, PRD amendment.
Yeah, this is a piece of property and requested for rezoning. It's, is already, it was zoned 2 years ago, something like that, maybe 3, can't remember exactly. Was rezoned from R6 to a PRD, and now they're requesting to amend that PRD. It's about 39.11 acres. It's on Sam Ridley Parkway, also has frontage on Motlow College Boulevard and Jeannie Lane. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R6 and C2. Land use plan does, for this area is our Sam Ridley corridor character area. Kind of support a mixture of residential, commercial services, offices, medical uses, all those type of things are appropriate in this corridor. Major thoroughfare plan does designate Sam Ridley Parkway West as a principal arterial and Motlow College Boulevard and Jeannie Lane as collectors. Adequate right-of-way does exist, or is shown already for those roadways. The currently approved PRD is approved for 350 apartments, 80 single-family homes, and 16 duplexes for total, and 32 units there. It was going to be planned all along to be an all-rental project, even though there was going to be some single-family and duplex-type units in addition to apartments, but it would all be all rental, nothing for sale. The proposed amendment is for 330 apartments, and then instead of single-family and duplex units, 130 townhomes. So it's 460 proposed, there's 462 units currently approved. So it's actually a reduction of 2 units overall total, but it is changing, obviously, the type of units in the mix of it. This does have a 1,500 gallon per minute fire flow requirement because of the clubhouse building and everything. There will be, the apartments at least would all be sprinkled because there are multiple stories. The only comment we had left on the zoning portion, and this project is on your agenda later on for a preliminary plat and a site plan as well, but for the zoning piece of this, the only comment we had is asking to submit an updated traffic study. The one we had for this site was done over 5 years ago, and so it does need to be updated. And so that is what we have.
It was originally an R6 tract,
Yes.
and if we continued with just straight R6 zoning, where would that put us unit-wise?
Well, at 39 acres, 14 and a half per acre would be more units than what's proposed.
1,600 units thereabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was, and quite frankly, this use would be completely allowed by right in R6. The reason they had to do the PRD before was because they were going to have the 1 and 2 family units. And so, but of course, that was a different developer altogether than what's being proposed, than is in place now. That was their vision for the property, and they have walked away.
Was it the group out of Tampa?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Is TDK doing the one adjacent? TDK.
There's a couple projects. TDK is doing the Vintage project. Marlowe is Graystar is the name of that company. It's doing the project, which is directly across Jeannie Lane from this project.
Well, to Tim's point, that whole area there, that entire area was zoned R6, which allows 14 and a half units per acre. If they didn't come in to change anything, they'd have that approval. So I'm glad that we get a chance to soften that density quite a bit by doing things like this, and that they're willing to let us do that. The apartments that are there are there. They're allowed to have them there that's an old zoning from a long time ago. And, but I will say, if, as much as sometimes we gripe about the apartments that we see going up, those are really nice looking apartments I'm seeing over there behind Raising Cane's and all that. They're really pretty. So it is what it is. They had the zoning for a much worse product. And so I'm glad they brought it in and wanted to clean it up.
One other thing I would point out, just as I'm looking at it again, again, this is still is proposed to be an all rental project. As part of these changes, our ordinance for parking has changed since this was approved originally, and they are meeting our new parking requirements for these townhomes. So I want to clear that up so everybody understands that. Will be parking in the driveway. There's a couple spaces in each driveway, and then of course additional parking, meeting the additional parking requirement as well as the guest parking requirement, kind of scattered throughout the development for the townhome portion of this development. So.
Because I am fairly new, I have to ask Tim and Mark, aesthetically, is this what you guys have been approving on Sam Ridley? As far as, I mean, is it gonna match everything else or better?
I think it's at least going to match the newer construction. We've had design review changes since, some of the apartments that you may be thinking of that are maybe all brick and rectangular and whatnot. So there's some architectural features that, when I'm looking at the elevations, meet our ordinances and, give a better appearance than some of the things that we've seen that were developed 40, 50 years ago. And again, when I look at this compared to what else is developing and will develop in this area, it seems very consistent to me.
Quickly,
Talk to the developer. The 3 apartment buildings, there's 2 that would kind of be pretty visible from Sam Ridley Parkway. Another one is somewhat visible from Sam Ridley, but also kind of behind the clubhouse a little bit. They are showing additional, brick on those more so than the others. They did enhance some of those elevations that are more visible. In addition to that, also on the townhomes as well, that are more visible from Jeannie Lane, Marlowe College Boulevard, the rear of those units. There's toward the back of your plans there. There's some, basically there's elevations, real elevations, and then there's what they call enhanced rear elevations. They show kind of a little bit more brick, a little more of a break in some of the units, a little more of a roof, break in the roof line, things like that, to give a little bit better look for those units that are visible from the exterior of the development. So that is something we had asked the developer to look at, and they have shown that.
I didn't know if y'all were looking for more a green space buffer between Sam Ridley and the new developments coming, or not, so.
Kevin, what is fenestration?
That is a fancy word for window and door openings.
Okay. Sort of a bougie complex then, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess you would say.
That's 18% fenestration. I like that. I gotta remember that word. Sort of algebraic, isn't it, Captain?
Kevin, to answer Selena's question, are you satisfied with landscaping, especially landscaping that would
Yeah.
be visible from
And that's,
Sam Ridley and provide some buffering?
yeah, and it'll be more visible on the site plan version of these plans. They're meeting, streetscaping requirements all along Sam Ridley Parkway to kind of, from a landscaping perspective, in addition to landscaping within the complex and all that. So, yeah, they're hitting those, meeting those requirements. Jeannie Lane and Motlow, they got quite a bit of road frontage with, on all sides, and so they're meeting those requirements. One thing that was, I just do want to point out, that was part of the original PRD, and they are keeping this as well, is this complex will have a trail leading over to the YMCA. And so the people who live here have an easy walkway access over to the Y. So that's something, again, that was part of the original PRD, and they're keeping that as well.
Can we put in a condition that they can't use the Y between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock? Monday through
You
Friday?
making that motion?
Okay. Anything else for Kevin or staff on this one? Mark, I think you were getting ready to ask, as far as R6 inventory?
Yeah, I think we're out of R6 almost, aren't we? In the town?
I think everything that's currently zoned that I can at least think of is already either built or under construction in
Yeah.
some level. This was one of the last pieces, of course, this has an approval, it's just a minute approval. Yeah, I think we're about to that point.
And the reason I asked that question is for the public's consumption. You know, yes, this was zoned correctly. No, we can't change it. They have a right to do it. But this is all of the R6 that I think I know of in town. So that kind of removes the fact that somebody using R6 could come in and do anything with apartments or clustered homes or whatever.
I did just think of one
There's a
track.
small one, and I'm trying to remember where it is.
There's the one I'm thinking about next to.
The high school?
Next to Smyrna High School.
Yeah.
There's some land there that's still zoned R6, that's not been developed yet.
Yeah.
And there's one next to near the post office that has all the roads and everything in there ready to go, they just haven't built yet.
That's
So-
history, though. That's done.
Right.
Until somebody comes in and finishes it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a product here that could be more dense.
A lot more dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Tremendously more dense.
And we're not saddled just with apartment buildings. We have a break with apartments and towns here, which, again, that helps with the density part of it as well.
And this is not far from where our new development is going to be with all the restaurants and
Correct.
shopping and
Fairly easy.
amphitheaters and things like that. So
Yeah. Fairly easy, somewhat walkable, especially from the eastern end of this development.
There's going to be a lot of walkability, period, here between all the restaurants, the Y, and then the future.
Stewart's
So,
Landing.
Yeah.
Can we get them over there to that? There's walkability over to Stewart's
Yeah.
Landing?
Well, they'll be certainly within here. They're putting a sidewalk along Motlow. We're gonna have to, along the Y there, there's, the Stewart's Landing development will have a sidewalk on the east side. There would not be a sidewalk at this point on the west side of Motlow unless the town wanted to take that project on. But on the east side, certainly there will be, and there's certainly sidewalks within this development, and will be along Genie and along Motlow in this area.
It's probably too preliminary to know, but do we know how quickly this would break ground?
I think fairly quickly. I think they're part of the reason this is, the zoning, the plat, and the site plan are all on the same agenda. I think they're ready to move forward as quickly as they can.
And do it in phases, I assume?
Yeah.
Has there been any grading or anything already there?
Not on this project. On the other side of Genie Lane,
Okay.
yeah, there is. And
I just
think
didn't
they maybe
remember
got permits
the other
first.
developer got very far with this at all. Or
They did get a site plan approval,
Yeah,
but I don't think they ever moved forward.
they didn't
beyond
move any
that.
dirt.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else for staff? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the staff comments.
A motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this rezoning request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. We are now on to preliminary plats. Our first one is Newberry Phase 2, Amelville Road, owner, developer, Newberry's, Propco LLC.
Yeah, this is the preliminary plat for Phase 2 of Newberry. This would really be the rest of this development. We've already seen the townhome portion of this and then Phase 1. This is 29.60 acres. It's 64 lots. There are 65 units because one of the lots that's shown is one of the villa, the senior 55 and up villas that would have 2 units on it. So that's why there's 65 units, 64 lots. We had several comments. Many of these are standard comments that would need to remain. Comments 1 through 3 would all need to remain. The major thoroughfare plan does designate Hamilville Road as a minor arterial, and they're showing dedicating right away there for that. The fire flow is for this portion of this is all residential, so it would be 1,000 gallons per minute. There is some floodplain area here that would need to be. They are going to do some modifications to that boundary, and so we do still need to get their flood study for that, and the letter of map provision will have to go to FEMA. We asked them to submit construction plans, which is a standard comment. Comment number 8 regarding the road name, that's for the cul-de-sac area, kind of on the right-hand side, which is the northern side of the project. We still needed a road name, and they did submit that, and that has been approved, so we can remove comment 8. Comment 9, we just asked for some additional distances between the property line and some easements, and so they've done that, so we can remove comment 9. Comment 10, there's a couple, or really 4 lots that are affected by 2 different easements that they do still need to show an extra 5-foot side setback there on those side easements, just so that we can be sure that there's no HVAC units in those easements. And so we need to keep comment 10. Comment number 11, some of these lots are proposed on a roadway that will be built in phase 1. And so there was just a concern from utilities, wanted to be sure that those roads and utilities are in place. Just to be sure that phase 1 does get built before phase 2. If that doesn't happen, that road would be built as part of phase 2. And so we would need to keep comment number 11 just as a conditional. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but just to be sure. Comment number 12, we'd ask for an easement and labels of that easement for a ditch on some of the lots, and that has been addressed and will be taken off. We'd ask for a roadway lighting plan. They submitted that, so we can remove comment 13. Comment 14, again, was something that Mr. Lawrence had asked for on kind of the end of there's a roadway with a hammerhead and some parking areas shown, and we just asked them to show that curb radius, and they just still need to look at that one to be sure that it meets what they're asking for. I think they have taken care of it, but we just need to be sure that the fire department's good with that. We need to keep 14. Number 15 has been addressed. There will be moving the detention area outside of that area that would be affected by the parking, so we can take that off. And then 16 and 17 are from Consolidated Utility District comments. We would need to keep those. So we just need to keep 1 through 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 14, 16, and 17. And with those comments, staff would recommend approval.
Okay. Questions for Kevin on this?
Nothing's changed really on this, Kevin, has it?
Nothing's changed. It matches the approved PUD, the layout,
Still got the villas and
the villas, the 55 and up villas, as
Right.
well as the townhomes, and then the single family. This is primarily single family in that one villa lot. The amenity packages, all that is still shown as what was approved with the PUD.
if they were to do this in phases, it looks like they're going to. How long before we could potentially see, for example, the pickleball? I think it was up in the commercial area.
Yeah, that was actually going to be done, but if within the commercial area. I met with that developer and their engineering folks. I think that's coming as soon as, they're kind of waiting for these folks to get the roads and utilities in for sewer and all on some of that. So I think it's really, they're kind of depending on them. I think phase 1, I think they're getting close to starting on phase 1. So I think
I
we'll
always
be
get
seeing.
concerned if we have a phase in the back starting or whatever, and then they say, well, you know what, we're not
Yeah,
we're not ready to do the amenities yet.
right.
I want to make sure we get those amenities in there.
Right, and that's part of phase one, and I know they're working through, because there's some road improvements they have to do to Animal roads, turn lanes they have to add and things like that. I know they're working through that with TDOT, getting those permits lined up and things like that. And I do think it's coming relatively soon, at least on phase one, so.
Other questions or comments?
I'll move to approve the staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This preliminary plan is approved. Our next item is DR Horton, Sam Ridley Parkway West and Motlow College Boulevard. Owner, developer, Sam Ridley Apartment Partners, WB LLC, DR Horton.
Yeah, this is the preliminary plat for the zoning that we just looked at, the PRD amendment. This would basically create the easements, the utility easements that are proposed, as well as they are looking to divide this into two lots. There would be an apartment, kind of a lot two would have the apartments, and lot one would be the townhome piece of this. Again, 39.12 acres. From the plat comments, we had kind of comments 1 through 3, which are relatively standard comments, would need to remain. Again, same as the comment as the zoning piece, the Sam Ridley Parkway is a principal arterial, and Motlow and Genie Lane are collectors, and those radical right-of-way is shown for those roads. Comment number 5 has been addressed regarding, they've showed and labeled all the easements for the public utilities, so we can remove that. Comment number 6, Jackdaw Drive, which is an existing street, there would be a cul-de-sac at the end of that would be public. They did label the public right-of-way, however, I think they labeled the setback line from the public right-of-way. They still need to show the correct actual right-of-way at the correct location. And so we would need to keep comment number 6 so they can get that corrected. Comment number 7 applies is really probably more so to the site plan. There are going to be quite a few internal private streets that we need to get those road names, 911 approval of those, so we can work on the addressing scheme. Comment number 8, they did show that now. I mainly wanted them to show that easement, that access easement, so that it's shown on the plat, so it can be recorded. And when the final plat is approved, so that can be removed. Comment 9, ask them to show that the access easement between lots 1 and 2, because they're going to be, obviously there's going to be access for both lots across one another, and they have shown that. They did show the zoning previously had been shown as R6, and so that's been corrected to show PRD. They had shown the previous iteration of this plat, they had proposed contours as well as the existing contours, and they also had all the buildings shown, and it made the plat was very busy and covered up, and you couldn't tell what was what. So we asked them to remove some of those issues, and so they've taken care of number 11 and 12. We can remove those. The Utilities Department had asked for a second water connection off of Motlow College Boulevard. There still appears to only showing one, so I want to keep comment 13 to the Utilities Department, work through that with them on that. And then the comment number 14 can be removed. They have corrected that issue there with the 8-inch water main connecting to the 24-inch line. So we would recommend approval, really comments 1 through 3, 6 and 13.
Okay. Questions for staff on this one? Kevin, you're recommending approval with staff comments?
Yes.
Anything else from the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve with staff
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This motion is approved. Our next item under preliminary plats is Sundale Section 4, Traymore Drive and Big Sun Lane, owner, developer Scott Butler.
Yeah, this is the next phase of Sundale. It's part of the Sundale PRD. It's 8.78 acres, it's 44 lots that are approved. We had a few comments, all really standard comments, really 1 through 3. No roads within the development are affected by the thoroughfare plan. Standard comment regarding the minimum fire flow, and then they do still need to submit a roadway lighting plan. I think we indicated that would be coming and submitted as when the construction plans get submitted. So it's basically extending 2 existing streets and roads or parcels and proposed lots on either side of those 2 streets. So again, it's consistent with the approved PRD. And with those remaining kind of standard comments, staff would recommend approval.
Okay. Questions for Kevin?
I like the variation in lot sizes, the way they did them.
Other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff
Second.
comments and a second. Motion is, I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving this preliminary plat signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? This preliminary plat is approved. We are now on to final plats. Our first one is Derby Run Phase 2D. Gray Ghost Way and War Admiral Court, owner, developer, Charter Commercial LLC.
Yes, this is Phase 2D of Derby Run. It's 12.17 acres, 34 lots proposed in this phase. Again, some standard comments primarily is all we have left. They are showing right-of-way along Rocky Fork Allenville Road to be dedicated, as it is a minor arterial, and they're showing that right-of-way to be dedicated with this plat. Standard comments regarding fire flow and signage, and as well as the CUD comments. So all those remaining comments, with 2 through 6, would need to remain as standard comments, and staff would recommend approval with those comments.
And consistent with the preliminary and,
Consistent with the approved preliminary plat and the PRD, yes.
okay, all right. Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving this final plat signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This final plat is approved. We are now on to site plans. The first one is Enterprise, 63 North Lowry Street, owner, developer.
For the existing Enterprise facility on North Lowry Street. The property behind it is currently vacant, and they would be proposing to use it for a private car wash facility for when vehicles return to their site. They can clean and detail those vehicles that are returned, just give them a bit more space for the site. There is existing, they're proposing lining up the property that is not located within any of the floodplain area behind the existing building. Vehicular use area for this area is just over a half acre in size, which does require 2,482 square feet of landscaping. They're showing for 2,593 square feet. Total parking for a automobile rental or sales facility is 50 square feet, or 50 parking spaces. Between the existing 30 spaces and 29 new spaces, they're showing for a total of 59. Handicap parking space of 3, and they're showing for 3 as well. Landscape plan shows maple trees paralleling the Adams Street right-of-way, as well as the access road that continues where the Second Street right-of-way ends. Additional trees are shown within the landscape islands within the development, and shrubbery lining the edges of the drive aisles. Architectural elevations submitted show the canopy constructed of metal, painted black. In addition, an equipment building finished with brick is shown adjacent to the canopy structure. Standard comments, 1 through 6, all to remain. We had 2 staff comments. Staff comment 1 is more of a standard comments department regarding the details for the runoff from the bay area, and the applicant has shown it on the grading plan as requested, but it is a public works comment, so we will leave that for them to address at a later date. Both the staff comments will remain, and with that, staff recommend approval.
Have we looked at this before?
Yeah, it was requested for rezoning at
That's-
one point, and that
yeah.
was denied. The owner of the property submitted additional information and documentation showing that it had already, this type of use had already been utilized on this property, and so it was grandfathered. And so they,
It was on 2 different lots.
right,
And so
Yeah.
Kevin and them thought, initially it was on 1 lot, but once they showed us the lease, and we saw that it was actually being occupied by 2 different parcels.
So this is an allowed use.
Grandfathered, yes.
Grandfathered in.
yes.
Canopy with a brick building.
Yeah. Okay. And you are recommending approval?
My recollection when this came to us before is that it was denied because it was non-conforming with our overlay district. And we are making such wonderful progress with the overlay district in rejuvenating the downtown area. I suppose if they have a right to do it, they have a right to do it. Downtown heading north, we're gonna run into a block-long car wash. I'm wondering what the applicant is offering in terms of mitigating that impact, since that now affect, we're gonna get some cool-looking, old-fashioned building that provides a soft northern edge. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but we're essentially now stopping the development with this car wash.
Yeah, I was looking at the map, and I'm not so, believe me, I'm with you. This was not how I envisioned. We do have buildings that will not give 100% view to this. This car wash, as I understand it, will be solely for enterprise, correct?
Correct.
It's not a public road.
It's not a public.
And previously, when it came to, it was a drive-through, that's my recollection on that, it was a
This is
drive-through.
close
This is
to
a
red.
much more condensed version than what you saw last time as well.
Okay, so more so what Charles is speaking of. And I'm just looking at, our floodplain, flood zone there. I'm not so sure that we have much more area.
I mean,
So
let's
let's
make
make
it
it look
redeveloped.
good.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be our board.
Well, I'm understanding has been improved, is that correct?
What do
From
you
what
mean?
what was originally proposed?
For the use.
Yes.
For the use.
I think to Charles's point is design aesthetics that he's asking about, not so much the fact that it's a car wash.
Building. On the lot toward the back part of the page, there are meeting our landscaping requirements. So it would be, landscaping, shrubbery, those kind of things, between this area and the area to the southeast. So there'll be some mitigation there.
And potentially, this is an extension, if you will, from an Ethos Enterprise building sitting on North Lowry now, on Lowry Street now.
A continuation of the use.
Right, but that's what's up there now. So this is just a back extension, sort of hidden down in the back behind the building. Am I right about that? I mean, we get one chance to make it look good.
So they can put the car wash there. Do we have any say what it looks like?
I mean, again, they're not really proposing a building. It's
It's just a canopy.
a canopy. It's not gonna be a typical, it's not gonna be what they were proposing before, which was a car wash there would be, a vehicle would go through into a building, get automatic wash. It's gonna be a canopy that they're gonna be hand washing the cars underneath.
And the structure that is there is brick.
Right.
I don't know what else you can do, really. If Charles has any suggestions of them.
Yeah, I guess it would just be the southern landscaping buffer to make it look good. So if we're able to redevelop that parcel on Jackson,
It was not developed, but we do have them put streetscaping along that right of way, since it is technically right of way. So it's your traditional streetscaping is what you're gonna see right there.
And with some additional whatever trees and everything that's on that property and on that right of way already, which there is some.
Have we ensured?
Public Works seems this is adequately performing for what they need us to do for capturing it and filtering it to where it needs to go.
And I assume they're doing it now anyways, without a proper plan behind the building. You can kind of see in the photo, I mean, there's water there.
Kevin, and y'all's staff's recommendation here is to approve it. Are you comfortable with the lease?
Hard because it's commercial, it's all commercial property down there. It's not a,
There's very little green space actually down there. It's a lot of pavement.
but this is, of course, there is the Adam Street, as Mitch said, isn't that right? The proposed trees they're gonna plant, there's a row of maple trees there that they're proposing to plant between, their area, parking area, or really it's kind of a drive aisle where they're gonna bring the cars around, and the Adam Street right of way.
You say maple
Yes.
tree, so they'll grow pretty quick.
so if
They're
Adams
both
were
shrubs.
built and the development occurred south of it, the sidewalks would be on the south side?
There would, yeah, we would look at that when, within Adam Street right of way, sidewalks or anything there, if it ever gets built.
Well, we know the use is already necessary, but I don't know what that would look like, but I think Charles's landscaping question is valid. If we can make it a little dressier, then why not? You brought it up. Are you good with what you see?
I'd like all.
5007 Stately Drive in Thompson Station. I am the group property manager for Enterprise, and I did meet with you guys on the last review, so I appreciate your time again. As I stated before, we are here to strengthen our communities one neighborhood at a time. So if there's any requirements, landscaping, building design, exterior material, roofing material, colors, we're here to partner with you. We don't have a set plan in place on what it has to look like. We can chameleon into anything.
And from the building standpoint, it's just a small equipment building, which is just showing as an all brick building. I'm good with that.
Is the canopy metal or fabric?
It's metal. That's a black metal.
It's better than.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you assist me in framing a landscaping stipulation?
Well, I mean, there's a row of shrubs, evergreen type shrubs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I
And
mean,
what type of fencing material are we looking at?
I don't think, yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be required.
yeah. I would say it's probably not gonna provide screening, because it's not like a buffer screen. It's really more like what we would call our streetscaping type screen. It's typically what you would see between a parking area and the street. It's that type of land street, even though the street doesn't exist, at least today. And so that's what we were looking at, primarily looking at it from that standpoint. Same as they're providing that same type of trees and shrubs in between this parking area and that as well.
You know, thinking about, I know that we saw a concept plan of how we'd like to see kind of the downtown district there rebuild. Adam Street could come into play.
Sure.
So maybe it would behoove us to stay with a more of a streetscape type plan versus a buffering.
Yeah, because change, somebody could come in with a development plan that has some residential pieces too, or, well, we just typically wouldn't look at an actual buffering requirement for
Okay.
that because of that. So that's why we didn't, again, we thought it was good to have that land, that streetscape area there along the potential of Adams Street. And that would kind of be your break between that road and long-term, which is actually something that the site's relatively easily redeveloped in the future if Enterprise ever leaves town or moves to a different place in town. You're not a new building, there's not much of a building, and it could get redeveloped into something else down the road.
And if
For
they were to
many
build
years,
a structure, they would have to come back to us.
Sure, yeah.
I'm fine with it now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Move to approve with staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Yes, this was not based on anything that Kevin or Mitch wanted, but something that we presented, and it's clearly under Tennessee
It's
statute.
allowable under the statute.
It's exactly what the statute's meant for.
Right, so that's kind of the reason I put the motion out there, so.
Okay, anything else?
Well, it's not that we don't like Enterprise, it's just we have high hopes for the neighborhood, so.
Sure.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This motion is approved. Okay, our next item under site plans is D.R. Horton, Sam Ridley Parkway West, Motlow College Boulevard, owner, developer, Sam Ridley Apartments, partners, WB LLC, D.R. Horton.
This should, 330 apartment, dog parks, walking trails, pocket parks throughout the development. 3 access points are shown for this development, one on Jackdaw Drive, one on Ginny Lane, and one on Motlow College Boulevard. Vehicular use area for the site, 8.95 acres, which does require 0.89 acres of landscaping. They're shown for 0.91. Total parking required of 1,245 spaces, and it's shown for 1,247. Handicap requirement of 33 spaces, and they're shown for 34. The landscape plan shows street trees and shrubbery lining the road frontage along Motlow College Boulevard and Ginny Lane. Street trees are shown along the Sam Ridley Parkway West with additional trees and land. Detailed this pretty well. The clubhouse is a single-story structure, all with primary materials of brick, fiber cement, and glass and glazing. All of the apartment buildings and the townhouses, if it's facing outside towards one of the primary roadways, they do have the enhanced elevations on them. For example, one of the apartments does have, what is it here? 12% brick on an interior elevation, with the ones facing the roadways having 25% brick. So similar goes for all those townhouse units. Those enhanced elevations are shown where we do want them shown. The townhouses do have 2-car garages on them as well, and buildings, so adequate amount of that is shown for where the glass and glazing would be located. That is a primary material for us as well. The standard comments 1 through 6 would all remain at this time, and several staff comments to go over here. Comments 1 was the water and sewer construction plans are under review, so that is a comment, more or less a standard comment that will remain. Comment 2, we asked them to submit an updated traffic study, which goes along with the request as part of the rezoning. Comment 3, more or less a standard comment. Any retaining walls shown over 4 feet in height will require a building permit. 4 was from our utilities department. The utility plans will need to be in phasing with building permits. The utilities department will not sign to be sprinkled, and no FDC may be installed on the building, but placed within 100 feet of the building, and a fire hydrant must be within 100 feet of that FDC. Comment number 6 as well was a fire department comment. There was an issue with the auto turn when they do have time to do so. Comment 7, we asked them to submit E91 with road name approval and label those road names. Applicant has advised us they're in the process of being obtained at this time. Comment 10, we asked them to shift the trees minimum 10 feet off storm pipes. They have done so, so comment 8 can be removed. Number 9, we asked them to label the easements for all public utilities, and they have done that as well. Comment number 11, same as with the preliminary plat, we asked them to show the cul-de-sac as a public right-of-way at the end of Jack, where the right-of-way is right at the refuse facility was being shown with CMU block exterior, so we asked them to show brick, which they are doing now, so comment 12 can be removed. Comment number 13, on the last page of the landscape plan and amenity plan, they showed details for different municipalities, so we asked them to change that, and they have done so. Comment 30, less than 200 square feet, but they have revised that since, and it is now meeting our requirements, so comment 14 can be removed. Number 15, we had issues with the adequate buffers being shown. They have revised that, so comment 15 can be removed. Number 16, we asked them to show adequate streetscaping meeting our requirements along Sam Ridley Parkway, and they have done that accordingly, so comment 16 can be removed. Comment number 18, shelter outside of the right-of-way. We don't want the bus shelter located within the town's right-of-way, so in turn maintenance would fall on us, so we just need them to shift that bus shelter outside of the right-of-way, so it is on fully on their property and their responsibility to take care of and maintain. With that, previously staff did recommend denial or deferral due to the outstanding list of comments, but a significant number of those have been addressed at this time, so staff does feel confident recommending approval at this time. Just to go back through that again, staff comments 1 through 7 to remain, and then comment number 11, 17, and then the additional comment number 18 with the bus shelter location. So.
Okay. Questions for Mitch?
Can't wait to get to the bond report.
Is that a motion?
Move to approve with staff
I
comment.
have a motion to approve. All those in favor of approving to Charles's pleasure. We are now on to the August bond review report.
And I will go through this as quickly as I can, because it is a long one tonight.
Great.
So we'll go through, let's get started. Hidden Hills, Section 6, Phase 1. This one is only about 56% built out. Would recommend a 6-month extension on that one because of that. Buckingham Place, Section 1, Phase 2. This is the end of their maintenance period. Developer did indicate there's a few items to clean up there on our punch list, and he's working on that. So if he's able to get that done by the 16th, which is in a couple of weeks, we could release it, otherwise extend it 3 months. Woodcrest, Section 3 is in the same situation. Would recommend no more than a 3-month extension on that. If they don't get done, hopefully they'll get done here in the next couple of weeks. Rickers Bend, Section 1, Phase 1. This is one, unfortunately, the developer did pass away. We're kind of working on a plan to kind of get that taken care of, but it has Cedar Hill, Section 2, Phase 2. They are just into their maintenance period. There's mainly, and they're looking on beginning work on that next month, which is August. So we're in that month now. Again, if they are able to finish that by August 21st, we can release it. Otherwise, give them 3 more months to finalize. Buckingham Hills, that one we can reduce and begin the maintenance period on that one. They finally did get the streets paved there. High Point subdivision Phase 1, that's actually a development that's in Laverne, but they did some improvements, utility improvements, as well as primarily this was for the sewer improvements that they did. They had 3 items, relatively minor items there, and the utilities department had, and this is into that maintenance period. And so they indicated they were going to get that done as soon as possible, so hopefully they'll get that done by the 25th. And we can release it. We can otherwise extend 3 months if need to. Helmsley Place, we've only had this one 1 year. They're about 59–60% built. They are planning on paving this month. If they're able to do that, we could reduce that and begin their maintenance period. If not, we would just extend this 1 year at the current amount. Westover Phase 1B. Again, this is the end of their maintenance period, so standard comment there, release if they're finished, otherwise give them 3 more months. Blakeney, Section 3, Phase 1. That one is not quite 70% built out in that phase. I did hear from the developer since last week when the packets were developed. I did request a 6-month extension, and that is our recommendation. Blakeney, Section 2, there's about 3 phases of that. I think there's a Phase 1, 2, and 3. They're all in the same situation, basically the end of their maintenance period. They did ask for a 3-month extension because they want to be sure they have enough time to work through the final issues. And so we would recommend just go ahead and a 3-month extension then. Again, that's Blakeney, Section 2, Phases 1, 2, and 3. So Ashley Grove, that's the end of their maintenance period. Everything's done, so we can release it. Blakeney, Section 1, Phase 2 is the same boat as Section 2 phase, all the Section 2 phases. Again, just a 3-month extension there to let them finish up those issues. Westover, Phase 1A, they are working to get everything finished there. Hopefully by the expiration, same as Phase 1B. Would recommend, again, release if done, if not 3 months. Sundale, Section 2, they said they were working on that punch list. If they're able to get that paving done by the expiration date, we can reduce that and start their maintenance bond. Otherwise, extend 6 months at the current amount. Buckingham 3, there's 1 item left on that, so in there, but that is fairly recently been paid, so we do need to begin their maintenance period so we can reduce that and begin that maintenance period. And then Greystone 1A and 1C, we've had both of those only 1 year. Both are fairly low percentage built out, and so we would recommend 1-year extension on both of those.
Kevin, quick question for you. When we look at bond reductions, are we looking at reduction in today's dollars to make sure that we have enough set aside? Because, construction's just going crazy.
Right.
And prices and materials and whatnot continue to increase. So when we look to reduce, is it enough to cover, I guess, a period of time? Because I know that sometimes a 3-month extension will end up being 6 or more. I just want to make sure that when we're doing that, we're looking at it in today's costs.
We are, and some of those, when we reduce those to maintenance, our development agreement is set up that when we go to a maintenance period, it's $10,000 or 25% of the original bond, whichever is greater. So some of those, were greater than 10,000. So, and that's certainly something we do. I mean, if once we get to the actual maintenance period, your costly items are finished. It's really, it's primarily just, it's cleanup items. Has a manhole got knocked off kilter a little bit, it has to be reset or something like that. But yeah, we do look at those. I mean, we have had some issues. We've not had enough money. Most of those the bonds were so old,
Right.
And we weren't able to raise them because the developer, they won't give us more money usually if there's an issue.
Are you serious?
So if there's an issue, they usually, and if there's an issue, that's when we're going to end up calling it anyway.
Okay.
But our new development agreement also gives us the ability to
Right.
recoup any of those charges that are over and above what that bond costs.
Right.
That's
very good.
true.
You worked on that, didn't you?
That's right.
Thank you. All right. We've heard the bond review report. Are there any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the bond review.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the bond review report. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the August bond review report signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. The bond review report is approved for August, honestly. All right. Staff comments?
I don't have anything.
Nothing from me.
No? Okay. Anything from the commission? Stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Good luck.